deep in the Amazon. No roads, no signal, no people for hundreds of miles. A team of researchers set up remote cameras in one of the most
That's the
isolated
card from
patches
the
of jungle on
GPS
Earth.
unit.
They weren't looking for
We
anything
should be able to
specific,
pull the
just
coordinates from
data,
it now.
just footage. Routine work. They left the cameras running for weeks. Then they came back, and when they sat down to review the footage, one of the senior researchers stopped the playback, rewound it, watched it again, then quietly said, "That shouldn't be here. Not an animal, not a weather event, something else entirely." Something that raised serious questions about who had been in that jungle and what they had been doing there for a very long time. It started as a standard research mission. A small team from a Brazilian environmental institute, 4 men, experienced field workers. They had done this dozens of times before. The goal was simple: track wildlife movement patterns
Follow the
deep in the
river up to
Javari
this
Valley,
bend here.
one of the most
This is
remote
the
and
critical
protected
point. We have to
regions in
cut
the entire
southeast.
Amazon basin, a place where the Brazilian government had officially restricted access, not because of danger, but because of who lived there: uncontacted tribes, communities that had never spoken to the outside world. The researchers kept their distance, set up the cameras miles away from any known tribal territory. Standard protocol. They planted 12 motion sensor cameras along game trails and riverbanks, left them running, and flew back to the city. 6 weeks later, they returned to collect the data. Most cameras had captured exactly what they expected: tapirs, jaguars, giant river otters, normal Amazon footage. But camera 7, the one placed furthest from the base camp, had recorded something different. At first, it looked like a shadow moving through the trees. Then it came closer, and it wasn't an animal. It was a man, but not a tribal local. He was wearing modern clothing, he was carrying equipment, and he looked directly into the camera, like he already knew it was there. Part 20F5. The lead researcher, Dr. Marcos Almeida, watched the clip 3 times, then a 4th. The man on camera didn't panic, didn't run. He simply looked at the lens for exactly 4 seconds, then walked back into the trees, calm, deliberate, unhurried, like someone who belonged there. But nobody was supposed to be there. That area required special government permits that took months to approve. The team had theirs. This man had nothing on file. Dr. Almeida reported it immediately to FUNAI, Brazil's Federal Agency for Indigenous Affairs, the agency responsible for protecting uncontacted tribes. The response came back within 48 hours. They said they had no record of any authorized personnel in that zone. No missions, no surveys, no presence, nobody. The team went back to the footage, and this time, they looked more carefully. In the background, barely visible through the trees, there was a second figure, standing still, watching, then a third, all in modern clothing, all carrying equipment. None of them registered in any government database. But here was the detail that changed everything. The timestamp on camera 7 showed these men had been in that jungle weeks before the research team had even arrived, weeks before anyone officially knew those cameras existed, which meant one thing: someone else had been moving through that jungle, quietly, systematically, and they had been there for a very long time.
Hold it right
Part
there.
30F5.
Zoom in
Dr.
past the
Almeida
roots.
brought in a colleague,
See him.
a man named
He's
Ricardo
stationary. He's
Ferreira,
looking right
a
at the
former
lens.
federal investigator who had spent years working illegal mining cases in the Amazon. He looked at the footage once, and his expression didn't change. That itself was
Right here,
unsettling.
see the
He
radio?
recognized the equipment the men were
That
carrying.
hazard sticker
Not cameras,
confirms it's
not
their
research
equipment.
tools, soil sampling kits, the kind used for one specific purpose: locating mineral deposits underground, gold, tin, coltan, resources worth billions beneath the jungle floor. Illegal mining operations in the Amazon weren't new, but this area, deep inside a protected indigenous
Come on,
zone,
get inside.
this
It's
was
safer
different,
here.
because
All
getting
right,
here
lead the
wasn't
way.
easy. It required planning, funding, connection. Someone with serious resources had sent these men in, and they had done it quietly enough that nobody noticed. For weeks, Ferreira made some calls, checked old satellite imagery of the region, and found something that hadn't been flagged by any agency: a narrow trail, cut through the jungle, starting from a river access point